beginning and ending planets, this is a subject that I've researched for many, many years. Every so often I ask for information and get feedback and add new things to it. And I usually use it with progressions and transits. Won't be able to go into that right now. But a beginning planet is generally between 0 and 5 degrees. Sometimes it can be 6 degrees, especially if you don't have any planets earlier than 6 degrees. My sun is at 6 degrees of Virgo, and it's sort of like a beginning sun, not entirely like a beginning sun. And an ending degree is generally 25 to 29 degrees. Now, I know years ago when I was studying astrology with Catherine Grant, she and her husband founded the American Federation of Astrologers, and she would always say, well, you're either one sign or another. Don't think in terms of cuspers, but I do see when planets are in early degrees or late degrees, they do operate very, very differently. Beginning planet is a planet that it shows, when it's in early degrees, it really shows you where you're very young in your experience of the energy of that planet. And when we do the planets, I'll kind of show you or give you examples of this. And it also shows your beginning planet, especially the one that is earliest by degree in your chart, is really how you start new cycles. When, say, Uranus changed signs last year, and it was entering Taurus. And so it was trining my ascendant. And so it was beginning to start new things that I was doing at that time. And it really was starting very new things at that time. But it was also taking on new projects in terms of astrology because it was the planet Uranus. It's also a beginning planet is where you feel like you're not fitting in with other people. And I also say beginning planets are where you're sometimes a bit naive or maybe not fully ripened in the area of that planet. You weren't really taught how to use it, specifically by the parents. I also, with beginning planets, it is, there's a certain insecurity about that planet. And I know in medical astrology, sometimes if there's a lot of insecurity around a planet and it's being triggered, a beginning planet, sometimes the fear of starting something new can cause a health problem. It may not be a serious health problem, but it may cause a health problem. Now, ending planets are very different. Ending planets are, you can say it's overdeveloped. Sometimes it becomes a bit distorted, but it tends to hold on until the last minute. There is an exception, which is Mars. When I'll describe Mars when I get to that planet. Sometimes when people have a lot of beginning planets, I say that they're very young on this planet. And it doesn't mean they're not an old soul. They could be an old soul on Arcturus, but not necessarily here on planet Earth. Or maybe they haven't been here since the old Atlantean days, and they really don't know how life is on planet Earth at this point in time. So there's a lot of insecurity. Usually people with beginning planets often are attracted to people who had those same planets in late degrees because they seem to learn from these people. I noticed it with Mars. Beginning Marses don't always know how to start things. Ending Mars know how to start things, but they tend to get bored. And so they're very good at helping the beginning Mars person get started, start their new projects and kind of send them on their way. When there are a lot of ending planets, when you have too many ending planets, there's a lot of things. There's 4 or 5 planets in late degrees, 27, 28, 29 degrees. It tends to create a certain type of obsessiveness. I noticed now you can have a lot of, you can't tell how someone uses the planet by just looking at the aspects. I really have to see what the person is doing with their life to know, did they really learn to use this planet properly? And sometimes as we get older, we really do learn to use that planet more efficiently. one of them, and I'll show his chart when I get down to beginning Saturn, how you cannot judge from a chart whether someone is using that planet properly. And the chart I use is Christopher Steele, who wrote the Steele dossier that brought the scandal about what was going on in terms of the election. And he had one of the worst Saturns I've ever seen. But obviously, he's taught himself how to use it properly. And so you can't judge how a person is using their beginning planet until you maybe talk to the person. When they're young, they may have more difficulty. They often need a mentor to kind of show them how to use that planet. Also, with ending planets, there's another attribute, the attribute of disengaging. You see this, well, I've got it written here, with an ending moon, when people get emotional or upset or kind of hysterical, they tend to emotionally disengage and become kind of a calming force. When other people go crazy, they get calm. With a beginning Venus, I mean, an ending Venus, when they feel that there's nothing left to learn from that relationship, that Venus disengages. Mars, when it becomes angry or bored at late degrees, it tends to disengage. Rather than get into a fist fight, they will disengage. And one of them is Pluto. You know, Pluto, when it's an ending, Pluto will work hard to accomplish and achieve a certain amount of power in their life. But all of a sudden, when that power starts to control them, they let go and they disengage. So that quality of disengaging tends to be a theme with some of the ending planets. Now, in my chart, I have, well, or some early planets. I only have, well, Jupiter at 1 degree, Neptune at 5, and even my sun has a lot of the qualities of a beginning sun, but I usually say 0 to 5. However, Jupiter is the earliest by degree, and this is really how I start new cycles. Jupiter as a beginning planet just tends to jump into things, do things impulsively without thinking about all the ramifications for it. Sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, but as I've gotten older, it tends to work. The Neptune and Sun have beginning planet traits, but they're not really how I start new cycles. And again, if there are many ending planets, there's a certain obsessive quality that can go to extremes with things and go to extremes before they can let go. That before they can let go is important. And there'll be some examples when we get to some of the planets. They need to go to the precipice before they can take that leap of faith, let go, and move on. And it really is a style of action. You're not going to change these things. This is how you are, and you need to understand it. For example, an ending Mercury, they go through a process where they um, uh, oh, I had a friend, he would organize a trip. This is, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do the other thing. And the last minute, he would pitch it out and kind of go with his intuition. Writers, they will write and organize everything, organize all the chapters, what they're going to do. At the last minute, they pitch it out and go with their intuition. Somehow this ritual seems to be important before they can go with their intuition. Okay, a beginning planet tends to be more compulsive, more instinctive, uh, because they weren't really taught how to regulate the planet's energies, but they do learn this. And there's a lot of insecurity surrounding new cycles. But sometimes that can be innate insecurity about life on planet Earth. For example, a beginning moon needs more time to adjust. Um, However, the beginning Uranus seems to adapt to this really well, kind of have a pioneering spirit and kind of be the first one to get involved in things. But in any way, with the beginning planets, these are often self-taught qualities. And how well did you teach yourself how to use that planet? Did you have a mentor? Mentors and friends who can show you how to use that planet are very, very important.